afternoon, and welcome to the Field Empowerment Fund informational webinar for the 2024 cohort. We're really excited to have you with us, and we will go ahead and get started now. So thank you for being here. To start off with some quick housekeeping notes. First, the NCRC Code of Conduct applies to this as well as all gatherings. Secondly, this webinar is going to be recorded, and the session will be posted to the Field Empowerment Fund or FEF homepage following the session. If you do have any questions, please feel free to submit those via the Q&A module at the bottom of your screen. We're going to answer as many of those as we can during this session. And then, of course, if you have any follow-ups, you can contact us with the information we'll be providing later in the presentation. And we'll be happy to help you with anything regarding any of your questions. And lastly, you'll notice some essential links. We have first the NCRC website in general. And secondly, your second link there is the Field Empowerment Fund homepage. You can also, of course, search for this directly in Google, Field Empowerment Fund, NCRC, but it's also a pretty short link if you want to take note of that. Quick refresher on NCRC. We are the National Community Reinvestment Coalition, and we are a network nonprofit organization with over 700 members. We have a variety of focuses from housing counseling to policy and advocacy, to health equity, to research. And we're all under one umbrella and moving towards the same goal of building wealth in underserved communities across the nation. So of course, we could not do that without our incredible membership. And so for those members who are on the call today, thank you again for all of the work that you do day in and day out to move us towards that vision. Thank you. Our agenda for today's meeting is we will first be giving some community impact team introductions. We'll be then talking about the Field Empowerment Fund, some general overview, and then we'll dive into the more specifics, including the eligibility criteria, the scope and benefits for the 2024 cohort. We'll talk through the estimated timeline of the program this year, and we will also go into more detail about what to expect for the application questions and what the evaluation criteria will be. At the end, we'll have time to address any of those questions that you all have submitted, and share some contact information as well. So first off, the Community Impact Team within NCRC is the team that is administering the Field Empowerment Fund. My name is Laura Bentley, and I'm the Director of Grant Administration with the team. And I'm joined here today as well by Luis Ortiz, who is the Senior Grant Specialist with our department. So regarding the Field Empowerment Fund, this is a catalytic injection of grant funding that is designed to bridge a specific financial delta, financial gap that our members may have in order to level up an established service line. So the purpose of this grant is to build on an existing program or an existing service area to concretely upgrade that baseline of service delivery in a way that allows for improved community benefit to be sustained beyond the grant period. So again, this is not intended to be just general operating support to continue your services exactly as they are. It's also not intended to be funding for a brand new idea that has kind of no foundation of service at your organization. So if you have ideas that maybe pertain to one of those categories, this might not be the source of funding for you. But we're looking here for recipients of this funding is again for folks who have an established service line, have identified a way to kind of upgrade that baseline service delivery, and are looking for an injection of funding to help them bridge that gap. We also want to note that this year we are looking to prioritize Field Empowerment Fund projects that fit within a framework that we have developed here. So as you can see, we are looking for projects that will be moving the needle on racial wealth building or community health and wellness or environmental justice through the avenues of housing, small business development, or economic mobility for our BIPOC and LMI or low to moderate income communities in Field Empowerment Fund target geographies. So for economic mobility, for example, this could include workforce development It could include helping folks with their personal investments of their finances, as well as building up their savings, for example. And within this framework, there's obviously broad abilities to tailor your programs or to consider your programs within this framework. And so we invite you to just allow this framework to help give your project some focus as you're beginning to see what could those particular service areas be that you're looking to level up, and how could those align with NCRC's strategic focus for this year. And as a note, you will be asked in the application to select what kind of your area of impact is. That's that move the needle question, as well as from a dropdown of what avenue of change best represents the service that your organization is providing. So just bear that in mind as well as you're considering what program or project makes most sense for you all to consider applying with. And at this point in time, I will pass it to my colleague Luis to talk a little bit more about the eligibility criteria.
Thanks, Laura. Let's discuss the eligibility criteria for this round of the Field Empowerment Fund. First off, your agency must be an NCRC member to receive an award. If you are not currently a member, we invite you to visit our webpage, ncrc.org, and click on the membership link, and you'll see a list of benefits for becoming a member of NCRC, which include not only access to our research and data, but you'll also become a member of a network and collaborate with like-minded organizations to share best practices, strategies, resources, etc. You also, number two, you also must be located in one of the following target geographies. I won't go through the entire list, but keep in mind that in order to qualify, you must be working in these geographies. These geographies were selected following a research assessment on a variety of data factors. These factors included demographics, housing affordability, rental costs, and bank presence across U.S. geographies. Next, the 2024 FEF scope and benefits. Just want to bring up the fact that there's two categories in this year's Field Empowerment Fund. The first, and we'll get into it in the following slides as well, but this slide kind of shows you the two categories, which is the one on the left, which are the grantees. These are the applications that will receive actual grant awards up to $200,000. And we're expecting 10 to 20 of the applications to be awarded in this particular category. But we also have a second category in which we'll be awarding up to 10 honorable mentions. Laura, do you want to move down to the next slide? I think the next slide has a little bit more information on both of these categories. So yeah, the 10 to 20 grantees that will be receiving the grant award of up to $200,000. The grantees will be selected from the highest ranking applications to receive these funds. On top of receiving these funds, there'll also there's a social media spotlight across NCRC's national platforms, including social media, in which we would want to highlight your organization, highlight your project, and the impacts that your project is making in your communities. This is remember, this is an 18-month performance period. Let's get into the other category, which is the honorable mentions. Like I mentioned, it'll be up to 10 applicants will be awarded this particular category of benefits. It's up to a $5,000 value that includes a consultation and data analysis with our research team. Data reports may include data maps, graphics to illustrate the analysis findings. And if you've ever attended our Just Economy conference, we have an area dedicated to the type of work that our research team does. It's always a very popular exhibit, so you'll have access to meet and speak with our research team to to get your data analysis going within the 18-month period. One other thing, the analysis that you'll be provided doesn't have to pertain to the specific FEF project you propose for this application. It could be anything that you find will be helpful in your particular geographic area. Okay. Let's talk about the estimated timelines for the project. The application period will open July 29th, and you'll have until July 30th to submit your applications. In October, we plan on announcing the grantees and honorable mentions. And November 1st was when the performance period will begin. The payments will go out in different installments. The first installment would be 50% of your total award would be sent out when you sign your contracts for the Field Empowerment Fund with NCRC. The next 25% will go out when you submit your interim reports to NCRC, which will send out via email. It's a template that you're going to complete. Once again, the interim report, final reports are very important just because this is what we use to go back and share our results and our impacts with our funders. And then finally, the third, the third and final installment would be after we receive the final report, which is due in June of 2026. Right.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Luis. So we will pick up here once my camera comes back on to go into a little bit more in detail about the application and the evaluation criteria for the FEF this year. So once again, it will be one application, and from those final selections, we will be reviewing, ranking the application submissions. The top tier from the highest, most ranked applications will be given the grant funding to implement their FEF project. And kind of a second tier of notable honorable mentions will also be selected for that special relationship with our research department to work on a specific research report and deliverable that will best serve those honorable mention institutions. So we're really excited about both of those benefit categories. And to look into this application content, what we're looking for is to ask the questions that we need to assess, and that will also assist you all in thinking through your project by the time that you've applied. So there's not really any secrets here. As you can see below, the questions that we'll be asking is also what we will be evaluating. So the first kind of meaty section of the application, I say meaty because, of course, the first 10 questions of the application will be, what's your point of contact? What's your organization name, your address? Some easy questions there right off the bat. And then we have a couple more that will actually be scored and will require a bit more thought from you all. So the first 2 points that you'll notice here are really related to that existing service area. So the first is we'll be asking you to describe your demonstrated impact in that service area. And here we're looking for some quantifiable pieces as well as some qualitative, but we do really want to understand what is the scope of impact that you all have accomplished in your existing service area. Secondly, we will be asking about essentially the financial stability of that service area. Would have been your funding sources in the past, really trying to understand what's the baseline service area and the robustness of that service area upon which you're looking to build this FEF project. So that'll be those first 2 items. The remainder are largely focused on your FEF project itself. Point 3, we'll be asking for you to describe briefly what stage of the process for this project are you in. We understand that some of you might actually be addressing this particular project or trying to make this change happen even before you knew that this funding opportunity was available. So if that's the case and you are actually in the implementation set of things, if you're still finalizing the planning, please let us know kind of what stage you're in, so that'll help us understand as we're reading through your application where you all are. Next, we'll be asking for you to detail some of your research into the viability of your proposed FEF project. So again, our goal is that we are funding projects that have a high opportunity for success. And so we'd like to understand what research have you all done to show that that kind of scaling up or leveling up of your service area is going to be viable in your community. And so perhaps it's, you've done an analysis of comparative models in similar counties with similar demographics. And so you'd like us to know, that the findings of that comparison. Maybe you've noticed a change in the demographics from 8% to 80% of a certain population. And that's really been the basis of your analysis and seems to demonstrate viability. Whatever it may be, we're asking for you to share some of that thought process and that research with us so we can also understand that viability question. For point 5, we'll be asking for you to list the concrete success metrics and target outcomes for direct community benefit of your FEF project. So we're not necessarily looking for here a general statement of we're going to improve outcomes for the community. We'd actually like to know what are the specific, maybe quantitative or specific measures that you're going to be using for your project in order to monitor its success and to evaluate its success at the end of the program as well. In point 6, we will of course be asking for a brief project description and also for you to highlight to us what will be the impact of that proposed FEF project on your existing service area. So if we imagine, in our graphic at the bottom left, we have our existing service area as that black bar. Our FEF project is going to be that blue ladder that helps us level up. What is kind of going to be that resulting impact in our pink arrow that's going to be our new and sustained upgraded service operation? What will be the impact of your project and how your services are going to be carried out in the future? Point 7, we will be asking and assessing whether or not you all have in place a realistic implementation timeline for project implementation within the 18 months. So again, it is important for us that as we are reviewing the projects, that they will be implemented in that 18-month time period. So if you do have an idea for a change in your service area that you think, this might take 3 years or 5 years to put in place, that might very well be a great idea for your organization. For the purposes of this proposal, if you would like to submit your application, perhaps it might be helpful to consider different stages to that change. And maybe there is a stage of that can be completed in the 18 months that would still show some benefit to the community. So just some tips there for how to think about it. But for us and for the evaluation committee, we will be looking for something that can be realistically completed in this 18-month time frame. For point 8, we'll be asking for the names and the descriptions and the roles of the key personnel who will be allowing for the realization of this project during the time frame. Point 9, we will be asking for and assessing your specific budgets and budget narratives. And again, we're looking for something that is concrete and realistic, so that, again, if you were to be awarded and were to become a grantee, this would give you the tools and organization of thought needed to get off the ground running. You know that the budget that you would be receiving this award would be something that could allow for the implementation of this project in those 18 months. And our second to last point here, number 10, we will also be asking for you to think a little bit about the future financial stability of this change in service or kind of upgrade in service, and to think about what might be other future sources of funding. Our goal is that this leaves a lasting change on your service area. And so once the FEF funding is used, we want to make sure that there's some thought from your organization as to how you would be able to sustain that improved impact. And of course, we will be evaluating as well the alignment with the equitable and strategic vision of the FEF program. So one thing to note, most of the items that you'll see in the application will be short answer narratives. Please note that they do have word limits. Our goal again is to receive applications that we have the concrete information and less, a novel for your library. So the thought is by thinking out, what concretely is your project, what concretely are you looking to accomplish? those short answer narratives is where you're going to put that information. And then in addition, there are 3 required templates that will help you answer kind of 3 of those points we talked about in the previous slide, which is a timeline template, a budget and narrative template, and a key personnel template. And the goal with providing these templates is that it will help to make sure that you as applicants are kind of aligning your proposal with what our evaluation committee is looking for, and also give you a baseline to run with. You know, don't want you to have to reinvent the wheel. So I'm going to share these 3 timelines now, so you'll have a sense of what you'll be asked to complete. And these templates will be present in the application content. So once that application link is live, as you go through, you'll have the ability to download the template and re-upload it directly into the application. All right. So I will share here. The first one on our list is the timeline template. So I will start with that one. All right. And Luis, please let me know if we can't see my screen on the Excel, but I will proceed as though we can.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So for the timeline template, you'll see in all of these, they're Excel documents that you'll open up. You'll see on the left side of your screen, usually in column E or F, you'll see some brief instructions to help you when you're working on this on your own. I'm going to zoom in here so that we can see a little bit better the side of the screen that you'll be completing. For the template, you're going to start by please entering your organization name for us. And then what we're looking to do is add in the dates and deliverable milestones that will be along the way for your 18-month implementation. So you can, of course, add or delete rows as you need to. What you'll see when you open the template is we have included some key dates that are helpful for you all to know regardless, and also might help you recall how to best fill out the template. So for example, on November 30th of 2024, if you are a grantee, you should expect that your first disbursement, that 50% of award value that Luis mentioned, that should be processed by NCRC by November 30th. Your interim report will be due August 30th, so that's helpful to have in your timeline as well. Feel free to block out, that the internal draft of the interim report is going to be completed by August 1st, right? Our goal is that this is as useful to you as it is to us. But we can imagine that for each of your programs, those particular milestones may look different. We are looking for the concrete and specificity that will help us understand, yes, there's a concrete plan for how this will get accomplished, and some key dates in here. So we can imagine, for example, for a particular project, if we imagine that as we're coming to a close, it's time for your marketing team to update the website with the great news of the change. You might enter in here that the website updates completed by marketing would be done by, let's say, the end of March, whatever might work for you all. So that might be how you would complete this and add in the different deliverables along the way. This is a tool that for me has been very helpful as someone who has managed over 25 different grants myself. Sometimes the basics are really what helps you get things done. So our goal again is that this will help you all have a timeline that you can run with if you are granted the award. And of course, we know that some things don't always work down by the day. And so the goal of this as well, of having specific dates planned out, is that your team can see if we're getting close to March 31st and we haven't had that conversation with marketing, that can be a place to check in. So we do understand that slight deviations might occur with this schedule and that that's normal. If there are significant deviations with this, as we're checking in with you all along the way, we want to be able to reach out and see if there's technical assistance that we can offer, if we can assist you all with thinking through any modifications to your timeline. So that would be the timeline template. Again, feel free to add in rows that you all can do here, and you can insert a row in Excel. You can delete a row if you feel so moved, but that would be the timeline template. Okay. The second one on our list here is the budget and narrative template. So I'll share that one now. Again, you'll see some instructions in column F here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. All right. So again, if you could please include your organization name into this template. And what you'll see here, we have highlighted in light gray the fields that we recommend that you are filling out. We have included some formulas into the Excel to help you all out. So just be mindful of that. And of course, if you're an Excel superstar, you can add to those in any way you see fit. But for the most part, we would be looking for you all to update these gray areas as they are relevant to you. So the first item here that should be maybe a little bit more simple is just what's your budgeted revenue for this FEF project specifically. So not for your whole organization, not for your service area, specific to the FEF project that you are accomplishing in those 18 months. We've included here the Field Empowerment Fund subgrant, the amount that you are kind of requesting from us. So let's say it's up to 200,000, but when you assess your needs, perhaps you say, I'm looking for 150,000, what it may be. If you do have additional funding sources, let's say that your FEF project will take $215,000, $250,000, and you have already received funding or have a plan to get funding for an additional source, feel free to update this to whatever that source might be and to add that source here as well. Within the expenditures, this is what we're going to be looking at a little bit more closely. If you can please list out what your expected breakdown would be of the budget for your expenditures within that 18-month period. So if there are salaries, which by and large is oftentimes a big cost area for folks, to please come in here and enter in the employee position and name. So let's say, we can have Sally, and she is marketing specialist, whatever it might be. So this, you can come in and add specifically who this salary member is going to be, who this employee is. When you consider how much hours and their salary, what is the amount that is budgeted for their work on this project? And if you can add a couple of notes as to what they will be kind of doing here, we're going to have more opportunity to add detail on the key personnel opportunity here, but this is where you can add some quick notes for us as to whatever that might be. So you can complete this for all of these employees. If you do have additional employees outside of 4, you can add lines, of course. Next, we'll come to fringe. In most cases, folks use a percentage for fringe. So right here, you can add in what that percentage is for your organization. It will auto-calculate here the percentage against your total salaries, and it will give you the total personnel costs. Again, these are direct costs related to your FEF 18-month program. There are additional cost lines down here. Again, as they may pertain to you or not, feel free to fill them out. If you do have additional cost, direct cost line items that aren't listed here, you may, of course, add them. And we do have a space down here as well for contractors. If you plan to work specifically with a contractor, let's say you don't have a marketing person on staff and that's critical to your project and you plan to contract that out, you can note it here. Ideally, if you do know who that company is going to be or who that contractor is going to be, feel free to indicate that person directly here, that company directly. And if you're not sure exactly yet who that might be or which company that might be, just let us know what type of contractor it would be. And what can be helpful here in your narrative is perhaps where you are in the selection process or what you're thinking about in terms of how you would select that contractor. So this will sum up your total direct costs, and then you'll have the opportunity to indicate your indirect costs. So here, similar to the fringe benefit calculation, you can enter your indirect cost right here. If you do have a negotiated indirect cost rate, you can enter that percentage here, of course. You will need to include your NICRA if that is the case. For anyone else who does not have a NICRA, you are allowed to charge 15% indirect cost rate on this grant. And you'll see that this will then total up what your budget expenditures will be here. And so, of course, as evaluators, we're going to be looking at, one, the specificity and the logic of your budget here, and we'll also be comparing, of course, your expenditures to the amount of revenue that you have secured or that you're requesting for your FEF program. All right. And lastly, but not least, we have the key personnel template. This one here would be, again, please add your organization name, but what you're going to be filling out here is for any key personnel on the project, please note their name, their title, and you can provide a little bit more detail on their responsibilities specific to the FEF project. And please note that we would expect if there's an employee who's listed on the budget, that they also be listed here and vice versa. So those will be the 3 templates that will be included in the application. Again, we hope that these will help streamline and add clarity to the application process for you all and set you up for success if you are receiving the award in order to hit the ground running and have your plan already discussed with your team member and thought out so that there's no barriers to moving forward once those awards are announced. All right, we are approaching our Q&A time, so if you have any of those questions, feel free to start entering them into the chat. The application period, just to flag a couple of key dates, it opens July 29th, 2024 at 10 a.m. and it will close after about a month on August 30th, 2024 at 5 p.m. The application link will be online. It will be posted to our FEF homepage, which I will share again the link in a second. And so this time, the reason, of course, that we wanted to share this webinar with you all in advance is to start to get the juices going for all of you all on your teams to consider what those projects might be and to start to have this on your radar as we approach the application period. And lastly, some stay connected notes. I'll start with those on the right-hand side with our membership team. Luis mentioned that in order to be awarded, you must be a member of NCRC. As he mentioned, there are a lot of benefits that come with this. So if you are not a member or if your membership has lapsed in any way, you can join or renew at ncrc.org/join. And if you have any questions or want to talk through anything regarding membership, please email our membership team at membership@ncrc.org. They'd be happy to set up a call or connect with you in order to help you with any of those questions. And on the left-hand side, you'll see how to get in touch with us as the community impact team. Our email is impact@ncrc.org. So if you do have any questions during the application process, feel free to email us. If you'd like to connect with us for any office hours as well during the application period, feel free to connect with us. Luis would be more than happy to meet with you all. And his Calendly link to reserve a time is there as well on the presentation. We will note that Luis will be out on vacation this coming week and back in the office kind of 1 week later there around the 29th. So I think that offers a great opportunity for you all to debrief with your teams, consider what those ideas might be, and come with any questions that you may have to the office hours or to our email, of course, will be available there as well. And lastly, on that side, we have the Field Empowerment Fund homepage again, which is ncrc.org/FEF. So that is where the application link will be posted. And you can also find there, you will be able to find there a copy of this webinar, and you can find there now a lot of the same information. You can find a list of target geographies and benefits as well. So that information will be updated there, and that's a great place to check back to. And with that, we are at our Q&A time. So I'm gonna bump back and leave this slide up just for reference while we answer those questions. But I will ask you, Luis, if there's any questions from the chat that we should connect on.
We have a few questions regarding the geographies. The first one is regarding to New York City. New York, does that mean any of the 5 boroughs or strictly New York, Manhattan?
It's a good question. I would say if it's within the New York City boundaries, that would constitute as New York City. So I may need to follow up on that with our kind of research team who assisted with those geography locations. But it would be anywhere within that section of geography.
Okay.
And if that doesn't answer that person's question, feel free to email us at impact@ncrc.org and we can follow up that way.
Right. And just there also we also have questions to elaborate on location for the eligibility. Does location refer to the office location, the service area, or other?
It will be the office location. And if there are any, specific questions regarding that, or you feel like that's not clear, your situation is different in any way, again, feel free to email us for your specific organization. But the goal with these target geographies is that the office presence is located in these community areas, and that the understanding would be that you are also doing work in these communities. But we're looking for that office address to be located in these locations.
Okay. Can they apply for funding for a project that is currently that we're currently doing in one community that we want to expand to a targeted community within the focus area?
Yes, so as long as your main office location is in a target community, what we're looking for is that you have a baseline service area. And so through your application, if you can help us understand that perhaps you do have some type of presence in that community, or you have a strong enough foundation in that particular service area, that this is a level up that does have a strong foundation. We'll leave that up to you to help explain to us the application process. But at a high level, that would be an eligible concept.
Okay. Let's see. Can funding be used to expand an existing program to a new community in the target geography?
Yes, provided we're thinking of that kind of level up framework. So I invite you to think beyond, necessarily maintaining the status quo and also expanding out. But again, that would be something through the application, just to think of how are we leveling up, and that might very well include geographic expansion.
Okay. What does current stage of proposed project mean? What current stage are we looking for?
Yeah, so I think if I go to that slide here. So you'll see in the application, we'll prompt a little bit here, but to the point of, I think there was perhaps someone who mentioned a project that was had been thought out. Maybe this plan is already in place. We're just asking to understand, are you in that initial planning phase? Did you actually start implementing this plan? And so what you're looking for is assistance in the funding to get through the second half of implementation, or this is the third phase that we're carrying out, just to give us a little context of where you are in the journey of making that FEF project a reality.
Okay. Our organization isn't located in one of the focus locations. Is this funding opportunity offered annually? And do the target geographies change?
Yeah, so we do assess our target geographies every year. And so depending on kind of the change in those different factors and information from our research team as well, we can definitely imagine that those geographies may change in the future. For this cohort, those geographies are fixed. I think that answered the question. Did I miss anything of that question?
No, I think that's good. Reading, give me 1 second. Can this funding go towards environmental climate resiliency changes such as building upgrades in multifamily housing communities to improve the community health wellness within BIPOC LMI communities?
I think if I'm understanding the question correctly, in terms of can there be improvements made to assist communities with climate change, if I'm following that question correctly, yes, that would fall into kind of from that high level discussion here, falling into the framework of environmental justice through perhaps housing, if it sounds like those are particularly geared towards supporting homeowners or tenants. So yes, on a high level, I think that could fall into the framework, and certainly for specific ideas, we can connect with folks as well for more detail.
Contractors, do they need to be listed on the key personnel template?
I would say for the most part, like employees would be fine unless you feel the contractor, if they're playing a significant role and you'd like to include them on key personnel, if it's a specific person, please include them. I think it depends on kind of what type of contractor you're working with. We definitely want to see all of the employees for your organization. If that contractor makes sense to list in key personnel, please feel free to do that.
Okay. Next question, are previous awardees eligible?
They are. Mhm. I'll say that as a full sentence. Previous awardees are eligible, just in case anyone didn't catch the full question.
Let's see. Let's see here. Are housing, counseling, and education eligible activities for the FEF under wealth building?
Yes, so housing and counseling, I would say you can feel free to direct that under the housing avenue. We consider housing counseling to be within that concept, whether it be like affordable housing construction or housing counseling. I would see those within the housing avenue. If you feel like within your counseling organization, you actually have a specific program that's focused solely on helping people with their savings, like if that's really the program area that you all are zeroing in on, I could see that being maybe a better label for you all. But for housing counseling services, I would put that under the avenue of housing.
Okay. Let's see. Back to geographies, is Newark, New Jersey part of the New York City target area?
I would have to double check on that. Not in terms of New York City, but in terms of the metro areas, perhaps for Newark, New Jersey.
Okay.
But no, it wouldn't be lumped into New York.
Right. Just give me a sec, going looking for new questions. Some of these questions I could answer offline.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. If there are any specific, truly specific questions
Right,
to an
right.
organization, we can follow up separately.
Yeah, if some of these questions do not get answered on this call, please email us at impact@ncrc.org. Some of these questions we need to kind of look into, and we don't want to give answers that may change at a later time. So if your question doesn't get answered, we apologize. We'd like to take some time to review the answer and get back to you. So please email us at impact@ncrc.org. Do you provide debriefs with those who do not get funded?
Yeah, so I think I cut a little bit, but I heard, do we provide a debrief with folks who aren't funded? Our goal is to share with you all, of course, kind of what are those areas that you can improve on. The goal being, of course, for you, I know that you all are also probably pursuing other sources of funding. And so as a network organization, we also want to assist you all with, from our perspective, maybe what areas of the grant application could have been a little bit stronger. So yes, we will definitely be available for those debriefs as well.
Right. And also keep in mind that we're expecting a lot of applications. I know last round of FEF, we received over 400 applicants. So even though we do want to get back and debrief as much as we can, it does take time, and we'll have to fit that into our schedules. But like Laura said, we'll try to get back to you and see where you can improve on for your next submission.
Absolutely.
What are eligible or ineligible expenses for this grant?
Yeah, so eligible expenses will be direct expenses. For the most part, those should be ones that are listed in this budget template. Those are usually the typical expenses. So these are direct expenses for the grant, such as those listed here. And then you are allowed 15% indirect cost rate for, it's the general operations for your organization is what that 15%, what the indirect cost rate is allowed to cover. So in terms of direct expenses, these are some typical categories. And if you all do have a question about, a category you don't see on this list that you'd like to double check with us, feel free to shoot us an email and we can assist you with whether or not that type of expense would be included. But for the most part, it will be the direct expenses that your organization would need to carry out this program. Or sorry, this project that you have.
Is there a deadline for submitting questions or scheduling office hours?
I would say in terms of the deadline for submitting questions, we can see here that the submission deadline is at 5 p.m. We will be available until 5 p.m. But if you submit a question at 4:30 p.m. and you're one of many questions, we might not be able to answer that. So I encourage you all, there's a month-long application window. There's this extra time beforehand. So please be proactive in reviewing what the application is, amassing your questions, and then we can schedule those office hours. So while we don't have a strict deadline, I would encourage you all to be thoughtful about the time that you need to review and the time that we might need to research your question and fully support you.
I think we're going to the remaining questions would seem like we need to do a little bit of research before we answer them. So once again, if you can move these questions from the chat to the impact at NCRC email, we'll make sure to go through them one by one and make sure we get an answer out to you. We just don't want to answer them without first confirming some information.
Thanks, Luis, for help with that. Thank you again, everyone who joined us here today. Again, the application will be opening on July 29th, and we look forward to your submissions. And if you do have any questions or need anything from us in the meantime, we're happy to assist you with that. And we're looking forward to seeing this amazing work that you all will be doing through the FEF project and also kind of the research outcomes that can come for the honorable mentions in collaboration with our research team. So thank you again, everyone who joined today. And I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon, and we look forward to staying connected.
And real quick, Laura, before everyone gets off, this we recorded this webinar and it's going to be posted on the Field Empowerment Fund landing page. So if you want to go back and review that information, please visit the webpage and you can get access to the presentation there.
Exactly, and that will be this ncrc.org/FEF homepage. So it won't be up, 2 minutes following this this session here. It'll be up shortly thereafter once we're able to upload that through our team. But look out for that there. And again, any questions that you all may have, we are here to help you out. Thanks all. Take care.
Thank you.